Hey there, I'm Jean Bardot, and I am a professional dominatrix here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And how did you first realize you were into kink?
I first realized I was into kink when I moved from little tiny rural Minnesota to the big city of Minneapolis. I went to art school and I found my people there. I befriended some kinksters. I had no idea what that meant or why they did or what they did. I had no idea, but something was so attractive to me about them and their lifestyles. And I jumped head in first.
And how did this lead to becoming a professional dominatrix?
So, for meeting those two people, one of our local dominatrixes in Minneapolis was using or hiring him for her video work. And so he was shooting and editing her stuff. And through him, I met her and just even further fell in love with the lifestyle and began apprenticing under her.
And what were some of those first experiences like in the dungeon?
Going back to that, it was overwhelming. It was comfortable. It was exciting. It felt good. It was just a brand new world I just couldn't get enough of at the time.
And have you developed, I'm sure you have like some favorite toys that you like to work with in the dungeon or devices?
I do, but those toys really don't matter if I'm playing or working with somebody that doesn't get that implement or that toy. So that's not fun for me. So, I've got all the toys in the world that I could ever ask for times three. And I love them all. If someone is loving it at the same time that I'm able to manipulate and work over and gloss their eyes over, that's the toy that's my favorite.
Do you have
Does
any
that
like,
make sense? Does that get in? Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Like if you have a favorite toy, but if they're not into it, then it doesn't get used. Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter. I mean, all my toys are my favorite toys. I have them
Yeah.
for a reason because I like using them on that person that really enjoys having them used on.
And how do you prepare for your sessions? Do you like try to get yourself and like do you have like any rituals? Do you play like have a certain playlist?
I do have certain playlists. They are kind of more, how I'm feeling or how the scene is going to feel. Like if it's a heavy metal mix, or if it's a more ethereal mix, or if it's more of a poppy mix. I have those playlists ready to go. Preparing, it's just, I like to dress. I've always liked to dress. That's pretty much my fetish was, dressing. And so I, love finding that outfit to wear, whether it's a pair of sweats or if it's, that typical leather corset that's strapped me in and tied super tight to, a full body rubber suit.
So dressing is just kind of part of your ritual for getting into
Dressing's
the
part of that
headspace.
ritual. Hmm.
Do you think there's any, what would you say is the main type of music that fits a dungeon atmosphere?
Oh, and see, it's for me, the music is going to fit the scene. It's going to fit the energy of the scene. It's going to carry that energy. Um, The only time I really don't use music is when I do full encasements with earplugs or, hearing devices and stuff and where they can't really talk or make sounds because I really need to concentrate on that body to make sure they're still breathing.
Yeah.
And if they need to get out, they can, safe gesture, safe word. Yeah, I'm bouncing all over the place.
No,
So
you're doing
sometimes,
great.
yeah, I don't know. The music does matter. It does matter. And then sometimes I just like it. Just the breathing of that body kind of carries me through the scene.
So you sometimes you just like the silence and then the actual sounds coming from the scene.
Hmm. The sounds of the rubber, the sounds of the leather, the sounds of the smacks and the whacks and the breathing and the sighs kind of are erotic to me.
That makes sense. What does subspace to mean to you and the term top space?
Mm. So while I was training with this mistress, I was always bottoming or subbing to her. So I learned what subspace was from her. And for me, I mean, everyone has a different kind of subspace, but I call my subspace when I really can dive into it, just an ethereal kind of womb-like sensation where I'm just kind of escaping my body, sometimes escaping my mind for sure, and just letting my body kind of feel and take and change and just feel all those feels that are coming at me. And then top space for me, being able to connect with that body that I'm working with, whether I'm breathing with them at the same time, I'm dancing around them as I'm maybe doing some impact play, and just getting in that zone and getting that energy from their body back at me as I'm throwing all this stuff at them.
Do you think these feelings can happen in a first-time session, or does it need to be developed over sessions to hit?
Everyone's so different. Everyone's so different. Some people are really, if they're going to feel super comfortable with me for the first time, they might let go. It's a huge amount of trust. Fear of the unknown for a first timer might be, overwhelming. Yeah, everyone's so different. I don't know.
I agree with you. Can you talk a little bit about the psychological aspect of domination?
How so? Like
I guess getting inside the mind space of your submissive.
From the submissive, getting in their mind space. Yes, yeah. Sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes they're ready to give up. But yeah, the farther I can get into their brain of what they're looking to feel or to experience, the more information they give me about what's going on or what has been going on in their life, and just picking their brains, asking them questions, and then hopefully them giving me that information. It makes for such a better scene. Not everyone's able to do that right away, but to figure out where they want to go, how they want to get there, why they want to get there. Some people just don't really care to connect that psychology. They just want that physical touch, that physical action, that feeling right away, and that's it. People are all different. Again, they're all so different. They all have those different needs. I don't really find getting into their heads all the time all that helpful, but I love it when I can, because then I can really sorry, can I swear?
Yes.
I can fuck with them.
And what's your favorite part about being a dominatrix and I guess your lifestyle?
People trusting me with their lives. It's a pretty powerful thing. It's a very special, sacred thing that I feel very privileged to have over people.
And how has being a dominatrix affected your relationships outside the dungeon? And that can necessarily just mean with like regular people or friends.
Well, I'm lucky enough where like 80% of my friends are kinky. So, I can be free with my friends and I can talk about things happening. If I'm having an issue or if I need some help with something or ideas, I can bounce off all my friends. Or if I'm having stressful life stuff happening, I can, be free and talk to my friends about my kink lifestyle along with my vanilla lifestyle. My family knows and things, but it's not the conversations I have with them. I let them ask me questions all they want, but at times I'd be like, do you really want me to answer that question? But, as long as they know that no one's getting harmed and I'm not getting harmed and I'm safe, my family is very accepting of it for the most part.
And you also perform at fetish ball events. You performed at one of our Sinical balls, and you did a great show. Like people still talk about it.
Thank you.
How did you get into doing that? And what do you think are some of the key ingredients for a good fetish ball?
For a good fetish ball? Ooh, geez, that's a good one. Great questions. So how did I get, so when I was in art school, there was a burlesque club that just opened up. And I started performing burlesque with a troupe of ladies. And the more I got into the kink, the more I would travel around going to fetish balls, and then my brain would just click and go, oh, I've got this idea. I've got this idea. I want to do this, and then it just kind of morphed into mostly fetish performances from the burlesque. I mean, I still burlesque, I guess, but
Yeah.
with a definition of burlesque. What makes a good fetish ball? The fetish kinks are showing up and having fun, bringing in the energy, and people being able to be free and expressing themselves and dressing, in that fetish attire. There's always going to be bad apples in the room, and how do you eat out those bad apples? That's a great question that I don't know how to answer that. Just having that energy and having it there and seeing, being fetishy and dressing fetishy is just about the visual and the feeling, and having lots of that. Yeah. What's your secret to a good fetish ball?
Like you said, to try and create that environment where people can enjoy themselves, multiple areas, performances, having the right music. Sometimes it's not always easy to find what's going to fit the event.
Having a lot of places to sit down. There's going to be a lot of high heel wearing.
Yeah. We've had some complaints at our shows. There's not enough seating, but we try to utilize every chair that's in the building. So.
That was a good one. You need to find a good group of subs that like to be furniture.
Oh yeah. So as a fetish photographer and fetish magazine publisher, so I deal with censorship issues on multiple social media platforms. It's always a daily battle. How is that affecting you, and what platforms have you found to be the best, to promote yourself?
So I come into the fetish world pre-internet. I hate social media. I hate social media. I hate the internet, but it seems to be the place where we have to go, right? So, my opinion is so many people put so much out there, it doesn't leave any imagination left. Because you see it all, everything's out, you see what's going to happen. It's like that quick fix, that quick visual, that quick gratification, that, and it's just all out there, and it's all free. So when I first started making fetish movies, they were an hour long, 20 minutes long. Nobody has patience. Nobody can sit for an hour and 20 minutes and watch a fetish movie. It's like a clip. It's a 3-minute clip. Right. It's a 4-minute clip. Bam, bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. I think it's lost its creativity because of that. And it's just so very different. And I think people just put too much out there. And, whether it's censorship or not, it's like people are just throwing it out there for free. Come see me, come see me. Well, you've just given it to people. So it doesn't make sense. Why would they, want something that they already can see, visualize? I've been censored for my shows sometimes, and I've learned it's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission. Yeah. For my live shows, some of them have been a little on the edge where, I had to massively apologize, but they still talked about those shows for years later. So I don't know.
Was it easier or harder for people to find you before, pre-internet days?
Because I was training with someone that was already internationally known, my gig was pretty easy. I can count on one hand how many times I've really advertised. And I'm lucky enough to be busy. And
one thing that you mentioned, I remember people like Irene Boss. She had mentioned she used to make full-on productions, like DVDs.
Yeah.
Then Clips for Sale and other sites came and kind of changed the format to where it's short form content, which really affected, I think, everyone.
Yeah. We used to be very creative, and an hour and 20 minutes you can express a lot.
Yeah, actually tell a story almost.
Yeah, you could tell. Yes, there was a thing. There was a storyline. Like when I'm doing Gwen Media stuff, it was like Rubberella was very. It was that Rubberella got caught. She escaped. She caught the bad guys back. It was that beautiful storyline that I don't know. Now it's just quick, quick, quick.
Yeah, and I think TikTok and Reels are making it a little worse.
Wow.
Attention spans. Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan.
For people who are just exploring BDSM for the first time, what advice do you have for them as far as like a submissive trying to find, someone to session with, and also for someone who's trying to be a dominatrix or male top?
So in Minneapolis here, we have a kink store called Bondesk, and I teach what they call a 101 BDSM 101 class. And it's just a couple hours long. It should be longer because there's just so much information to throw out at people that are newbies. But I recommend to people to find your local community, to find the munches to go to. Whether it's a specific munch or if it's just in Minneapolis here, we have something called the newbie munch, where new people are able to go and, meet your like-minded people. And then the moderators are very intelligent about the other groups in town. And then if there's a certain kink you're looking for, they can send you in certain directions and you can find those munches and find your people. Our community is quite big here in Minneapolis. So sending people to munches kind of works best. And then our store Bondesk, has public play parties and meet and greets every month. So, I send people to that place too, because it's a safe environment to go and find those people, your people that you're looking for. I also tell people it's not a good place to be shy. You're not going to be able to ask for what you need. You're not going to get it. In Minnesota, that seems to be a hard thing for people to do. A lot of shame-based attitudes are around here, I think. It's shameful to be kinky, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to get people over that.
Is there any websites or anything online that's good for like networking or for people to meet people or find people that way that you recommend?
Unfortunately, I do send people to FetLife. I send people to FetLife to find those munches, to find those public meet and greets and things like that. I don't recommend FetLife as, perusing all the profiles and just kind of giving shout outs. I'm just finding that to be a little messy. There's just too many bad apples out there that are taking advantage of people, which I'm unfortunately hearing stories about, which is pretty sad. But I guess that's the life of the internet these days.
Yeah. Do you have any crazy session stories or memorable session stories that stand out to you?
Pre 9/11, we used to do some amazing kidnappings, public kidnappings. Those were amazing. Those were fun. Where you weren't concerned about cameras in the parking lot, or even kidnappings from the airport. We would.
Wow. Yeah, you can't do that now.
You just can't do that now. And I miss those kind of on the edge. It's like, ooh, kind of fun stuff, the public stuff. Other sessions, the sessions that are, 24 hours long or a couple days long are always very memorable because you're immersed for hours and hours and hours. Just, anything in particular? Not really, but I do miss those kidnappings.
There's just too many cameras now, too.
So many. Even if we're in the park or something, you can't just kidnap someone and throw them in the trunk anymore because there's a camera. Yeah.
Those 24-hour sessions you mentioned, like, how do you plan something like that?
Days. It takes days to plan something. I don't do a 24-hour or like an even extended over 8-hour with someone brand new. So going into them, I already know the person pretty well. Just stack in the fridge with lots of food and energy and it takes a lot of prep work, just planning, making sure everything's clean and.
I'm sure you got to pace yourself. And then what is the, I guess, purpose for doing something that long?
People like to challenge themselves, challenge their bodies, challenge their headspace, challenge how much they can really do. Some people can't play often, so let's just, they think of doing it for a whole 24-hour period. Yeah, it's just a huge immersive thing. It's challenging on your body and your head and all that stuff. But I learn a lot. I learn a lot about the person, and they learn a lot about themselves afterwards, and I like them.
And my last question is, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you for the first time for a session? Like, do you have like a certain type of protocol you need to follow?
I'm kind of old school still, where I don't have questions to answer off on my website. I just want you to write me a letter of introduction, introducing yourself, talking about your history of your kink, what you've experienced. If you have references of other mistresses you've sessioned with before, that's extremely helpful. I use those references. I do check up on those. Talk about things that you want to do and experience, and just talk about yourself as much as you can and make it as interesting as you can for me. And you find, just send me an email from my website, jeanbardot.com.
Awesome. And I appreciate your support of the magazines over the years. And
hey, I love that magazine.
Thank you for doing this interview.
Yeah,
and
you're welcome.
my wife says hello.
Oh, hello back.